Hey everybody, welcome back to the Spin Rack. I'm here with my boy Cal. Say what's up, Cal.
Hey, ready to rock.
Today we're going to be talking about Squid Games 2, the biggest hit on Netflix right now that they've ever had. Um, what can we say? What can we say? It is, it is something. We're not sure if you're going to like it, but the whole reason we're here is to help you. Help. We were going to watch these shows that you don't have to watch because, hey, that's what we're going to do for you, baby, and we'll give you our reviews of what's going on. Now, in terms of Squid Game, just to give you a basic setup, and then we're going to just get straight into it. Our ideas of what we think about the whole show is that the winner, what was it, 452, 456, I believe was the name of was the winner number. He won in season one, and he was basically given an option: take your money and shut your mouth up. And he decided that he wanted to get revenge. So instead of going on a plane to America, he came back. He stayed in Korea and basically dedicated his life towards trying to track them down. It's been several years now. Cal, do you remember how many years?
Several years? I thought it was just a year.
No, I think it was 2 years, I think, since the last time happened. And so 2 or 3 years. And so what happened is that he pays off the guy he owed money to, and then ends up turning that gang into the group that the money lender that he lent money that he borrowed money to and he wasn't hot for. He ended up using him as his front man and also his gang to search for the guy who would start the games, who would recruit people. And in that he was trying to bring them down. He was trying to get information to bring the whole group down, but in fact what ends up happening is that he ends up joining the game. Now, one thing we know about the organization, they're basically following you. They know what's going on. And they're basically two main storylines coming home. The storyline number one being what's happening with character 456, and the second character, and the other one is what's happening to the brother of the leader of the game. And so I don't want to go into any more. Let's get into it with it, Cal. Cal, what did you think about this season overall? Um,
Had I known that this was a part one, I would not have watched it. When
fuck.
I saw when I
Oh,
saw it was 7 episodes, I was like, okay, cool, nice short season. Gonna wrap everything up in 7 episodes. When I got to the seventh episode, I was like, this is to be continued. I can't stand to be continued in the series. I just can't. One of the reasons why I like the format with Netflix is I can sit down and I can just watch everything one time, get it done. I don't have to do this week to week stuff because a lot of times they don't write series very well week to week.
yeah.
They write them so it's very frustrating week to week. And I just feel it's better in terms of me being fair in my analysis of the show if I can see the whole thing at one time or I can see it in larger portions rather than I gotta wait 6, 7 days before I see another episode. I mean, I think Star Wars really shot itself in the foot with some of the series because they would do things that were so controversial and then have people stewing for like seven for 7 days before you got any resolution to it. So I'm not a fan of that. But if I had known that this was going to be okay, this is just going to be like a part one, even though they didn't advertise it that way, I would have just waited until the second set was released. However, I have to admit, for what I saw, it was like, hey, it's the same thing. Once again, these guys are playing these particular games and they did, I was like, well, they're going to play the same exact games. It was like, okay, well, at least the first one, red light, green light, they started off there, but I guess that's good because you can get rid of a lot of people with red.
Yes, they
you can
can.
you can really mow down the numbers right there. It's just a nice big setup too. But then they go into other stuff. You have new characters. They find ways to switch it up so you can't really be a team or partnership as much as you may want to. These things are going to change. You have characters you can get invested in once more. So, I thought that's part of the reason I didn't like that it was two parts because I was like, okay, I want to see how this gets resolved. We'll see you again. How many months? 6 months? A year? We'll see you in a bit. And then you get to resolve it. Then, like, thanks, guys. Thanks.
It's interesting you said that. I think for me, the season was broken up into two parts, right? The very first part is the whole setup of him trying to find the Squid Game people, right? And him trying to the things that he's going about. I know some people complain about being slow, but I like the fact that you see how he's building up to try and get these people. And you're thinking, how the Squid Game people, they're so smart, they're so rich, they're so powerful. Are they going to let him get into the game? You know, but we know from the commercials, the trailers, that he was going to get into the game. You're like, how is he going to get into the game? What's the point of them even doing it? And it was just interesting to me just how the whole thing broke down. Basically, that he agreed to do it. That he they basically outsmarted him. They knew what was going on the whole time. They were able to take him. He had a whole special forces team behind him, and they couldn't do anything. They couldn't find him. They ended up losing him. So I thought that was a pretty interesting setup, but especially the whole thing with the moneylender, the gangster, where they're like, "Hey, boss, do you believe this guy? That this guy really there is something happened where they have this game and children childhood games, and these guys get picked to go to an island to do stuff." And they're like, the boss is like, "Well, I don't know if it's true, but he is paying a lot, and he seems like he's really genuinely scared, like something did happen." So I kind of err on the side. And then they see this guy playing I don't know what the name, Jim Chalk or something they call it. They throwing the thing on the floor, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, he was right the whole time." But then they realize they start following this guy, and they get into some serious trouble. The boss ends up dying, and you realize that these guys are not playing. The guys in the Squid Game are not playing. These guys are deadly serious. This is they're offering you a ton of money, but once you accept being part of that game, that's it. You know, there's no coming back for that.
Well, what's the old phrase? Your money or your life? One of the two.
You're right. Your money or your life. And what I liked is that when you got the game started, is that he's telling them what they should do. But the greed of people is like, it doesn't matter. I'm telling you what to do, what the whole point of the game. And people are still like, "Oh no, we're going to stay in the game a little longer." People are dying. "Oh no, we're going to stay a little longer." And when they have the vote every time about whether they want to stay in, I thought that was just so ingenious. Like, no matter what, you're always going to get people divided, but it's the greed of people, even though people are dead, they're like, "Well, I'm going to survive," right? And if a couple more people die, it increases the pot, and I could survive on 100,000 now. But right now it's 48,000. No, it's just not enough. A couple more people need to die. I'm like, what? I mean, come on. What do you
Well,
think?
oh, if you look at it from there, if you're playing the game and you owe as much money as these cats do, all right. I think some of them are willing to roll the dice because if they go back, they're alive, but they're still in deep debt. They might as well be dead. That's pretty much where their mentality is. Then, of course, the argument is like, look, these are kids' games. Okay, these are kids' games. Surely, as adults who haven't played this game in years, we can be able to surpass this. So they're hoping that luck will be on their side and they can actually get out. Not, realizing that you have one of the guys in there who's playing, and he's one of the leaders, if not the leader, of this whole thing going on.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Dude, you just blew the whole thing up. Yeah. So the leader of the Squid Games, who, by the way, actually won it, at one point. I think that's what they said in the first series. He won it. That he is the leader of the whole thing, and he comes in and plays a character. Just like in the first season, they had the old man who was the billionaire behind it. Now this guy is in it. He's actually goes into the group with number 456. And I'm like, yo, is that not the craziest thing? I'm like, yo, that is off the chain.
And then they went, I thought they did a nice touch where they're like, no, we're not going to play the game. We're going to get these weapons. We're going to go, try to, get out of here, stop these guys. That doesn't quite work out in fashion in which they would want. So they're doing very good with the complications. But if I put myself in the shoes of these cats, if you have like the type of debt that they have would be the equivalent to like a few $100,000 worth of debt in the United States. And then you go through red light, green light, and you made it. And when you look, well, how much money am I going to get? $5,000?
Nah.
I almost died for $5,000. And you're like, all right, let me roll. What are my odds if I keep rolling? Because most of these guys are here because they're gamblers anyway. They have that compulsive nature. So then it becomes, all right, if I can just survive to this round, I'm out. Okay, I'm out at the end of the day. But then they don't realize, hey, it's not just a matter of you saying I'm out. Other people have to say I'm out with you, and they need to get a certain amount of money too. And then you can see, it's you see the way that it's going, even to the point where they were like, okay, late at night, we're going to kill some dudes. We're going to kill some of these people because we need to keep playing, and these people want to go home. So we'll send them home in a body bag.
Yeah, oh, yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, I also liked another, but probably there's a third story too about the young lady from North Korea who's trying to get her child back,
Hmm.
right? And she's paying the broker, and she's actually a soldier in Squid Game, right? She's one of the guys in red. She's a sniper, and she knows behind the leader's back. I think his number is number one, 001. What's his name? Imho. I forgot what his name is. His brother, Ji-hun, I think the cop is the one who was looking for him. But this other story, she's trying to get her child back, right? And when I guess she joins the game. She's living in her van to save money to pay the broker, and the broker says, I can't do anything right now. Go to another broker, but she keeps coming to him to try to get her child back. And I guess she was like some type of military or special forces back in North Korea, so she knows how to shoot, she knows how to kill, she knows how to fight. But when she's in this game, she ends up when someone goes down, right? He gets
Hmm.
shot by, like, for example, the red light, green light. They get stopped, and then as opposed to just harming them and not killing them, so they can harvest the organs, she ends up killing them on purpose to prevent them from harvesting the organs. And so you have a group who basically threaten to kill her and rape her. But also, this is all going on behind the back of the leader of the Squid Games. Like, that's interesting. There's just another dynamic. It's not just one dimensional. Like, these guys are so powerful and they see everything and know everything. They don't. Because even within their own group, they're having issues, right? The number one guy, his number two is harvesting organs on the side to make some money. So I thought that was pretty interesting too.
Yeah, I don't. That part with she's if she's going to interrupt the flow of the money, I'm surprised she's still alive. I thought they would have just killed her because how hard can it be to find another sharpshooter? Can't be that hard, right? So I'm not sure exactly. I'm not sure exactly where they're going to go. Where they're going to go with that. But
I
hey,
I didn't expect them at the very end to make a run already against the group. Try to take over the country or stuff like that. I
I
thought.
did because I thought there were only 7 episodes. Stupid me, right?
Yeah, well, it didn't have. They didn't go through enough. When you looked at it, I remember looking at the series, and I'm like, it seems as though they have to do more. But at the rate that they're going, it doesn't seem as though they're going to finish it. And I think that was the whole thing where they're like, oh, we're going to try to take over, but reality, there's still more to go. And so I was also disappointed. I mean, I really when I came up at the end, I was like, damn, this reminded me of the second Miles Morales movie. I was like, oh, no one said that there was going to be a part two, and I hate that. I hate it too. But I got to say, overall, a lot of people complained about the slow part, the first part, and stuff like that. I loved it. I thought it was pretty good straight up. I liked the whole. Yes, I like the slow start, and the second part, I like that they subverted your expectations, where he's thinking you're going to play the same games, but then they change the games on you. So, and then people start doubting him, and of course, human greed. Like, that game show, Let's Make a Deal. And
Mm-hmm.
the I always like the one thing about Let's Make a Deal. I always say is that you make the choice. Of course, the producers and directors, they pick people who have that tendency to want to always get the big box, and therefore they're going to get a zonk. So here's the same thing like you just said. These are people who are gamblers, and they're always thinking, "Hey, how can I get more? How can I get more? If I play the odds, I can win it, right?"
Well, that's been an overall theme within the show: your money or your life, which is more important. Where remember the guy goes to the I think these guys I think they're homeless and he goes to the park and he's like,
Oh,
here, you can have the food or you can have the scratch off ticket. And the majority of them took the scratch off ticket, knowing good and well that the odds of them winning are so low, but they were still willing to, and mind you, nobody won. Nobody won. And then
one guy,
maybe
one guy took the food. Only one guy.
I don't know.
One,
I don't remember if it was one guy or
yeah,
we
just
just
one
saw
guy. Just one person took the food.
yeah,
Everybody
one
else.
guy took the food. And what happened? Immediately after they scratched off the ticket and they lost, they started looking at the food.
Yeah,
And then
you're
he
right.
took all the food. He took all the food and he, jumped and destroyed all of it, saying, "No, I'm not going to make certain." And he didn't have to do that. He could have just taken the food and left, but he wanted to destroy it in front of them to really pound it in terms of their decision. So it becomes, look, which is more important? And a lot of them are saying, "No, my life is not that important without this money." I have. What did one guy? I mean, the Korean numbers. You listen to it in the United States. We hear about somebody owing 10 billion. You're like 10 billion. You're never going to pay that off. But totally different economic system and well, not economic system, but the The
The
money
number,
value is definitely.
just extra zeros. That's it. You got to knock off a couple extra zeros.
Yeah, but the idea that you could be in debt, 10 billion anything, it's like whoa. At the end of the day, and but so for a lot of them, they're like, hey, this only I'm willing to risk my life in order to get this money, and then if I get this money, what's going to happen? They already telling you by their nature they're gonna do it again. They're gonna do it again at the end of the day because they're operating on luck. Hey, I'm flying by the seat of my pants, but it's worked so far, other than, hey, you know what? If I'm alive, I might be able to find a way to sort this out rather than me having to. How did I get into this mess? I got into this mess probably by flying by the seat of my pants. What are the chances that I'm going to get out of it by doing the same thing? But if I'm alive, maybe I can find a way out of this, successfully. It may not be with this quick shot thing right here, but I might be able to do something. But everybody in there, for the most part, is trying to get, literally, it's the worst get rich quick scheme ever. Because if you lose, you don't just lose the money.
You
Okay,
just
you
lose.
lose your life.
Yep, yep, and they keep doing it. I love you. I'm glad you reminded me about that scene in the park with the hobos. It's like, my gosh. I mean, that's the most basic thing there is, right?
Hmm.
You get a choice, you know?
Yeah. And these are people who, these are homeless people. They're down on their luck, probably don't necessarily know where food is coming from, and they're still taking the ticket. They're still taking the ticket. That says a lot.
It does, it does. And it's a when you look at it, it's a in our society, I think a lot of people would take the ticket, you know.
They would.
A lot of people unfortunately would take the ticket instead of saying, you know what, I'm happy with what I got. Just give me the food, I'll be cool. But no, they're like,
Hey,
got it, you know?
no, I'll play, games on my phone, and some of these are like, you pick one of the four cards, okay? And then what's the worst thing that can happen? The worst thing is not that you lose. The worst thing can happen is that you win. And then you get on a roll. It's like, hey, I've got 10 straight, 11 straight, 13 straight. Then you lose. And you're like, oh, but it only costs you like 10 gems to continue. Okay, I've already won so much. And then before you know it, you lost it all because you lost it all because now you're on a losing streak. Now you're on a losing streak and you think, okay, well, the next one I could just get back into it rather than it's like, no, no, no. I made a good amount. I'm taking this and I'm leaving. That right there.
Yeah, so yeah. It's so the question is, do you recommend it, and do you think people should go see three, the
Well,
third?
Well, if you enjoyed the first season, you're going to enjoy this one. If you haven't seen either of them, I recommend starting with the first one. But this is the writing, the theme, very, very solid. Yeah, I can't see. It's difficult for me to see somebody sitting and not enjoying this. This is very good for a general audience, and they're doing a very good job. They're doing a very good job of characterization, in addition to it being plot driven, which I prefer. So yeah, I recommend this for anybody who wants some entertainment.
So just to give you some numbers about this, when it came out, it was the number one show in 92 countries. Only two countries blocked it. Well, I guess one, North Korea, of course, and Vietnam. Because in one of the episodes, they said about someone's father was in South was in Vietnam, was a good soldier or something like that. And of course, Vietnam was like, we're not rocking with that stuff at all. But and the rating, the viewership was 68 million in the first couple of days. That beat Wednesday, which was the highest viewed show on Netflix right off the bat, which was 50 million. So it's like they knocked it out the box, and I think it's like you were saying, it's something. This is an issue that's in almost every culture, right? People are down on their luck, and what can they do? You know, South Korea, you see it in Malaysia, Philippines, Vietnam, the U.S., Europe, and I think that's why it resonates so well because people can say, yeah, if I'm down on my luck, what would I do? Would I be so desperate as to do that? And like you just said, there's a lot of people who are going to say yes. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just a lot. You will find takers no matter
Yeah.
what.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you're in that much debt or you're that bad or you're that desperate, what do you have to lose, right?
Yep, you know what it is.
You're like, oh, what are you going to lose? Oh, I'll lose, but you're going to lose. Do you know how hard it would be to argue with somebody? No, if you're alive, you might be able to do something. You might be able to do like, what? What? You see how much debt I got? You know, you know how much trouble I'm in? I got people after me. I got this. Like, no, I'll go do this. And then, to be quite honest, some of them are like, hey, I'm better off dead anyway. So, I don't mind risking it all.
So I mean, just to circle back on finishing up, I think, like I said, there was two storylines, two major storylines, and the third one with the young North Korean woman, with the whole body parts. The second one dealt with the former investigator who was looking for his brother, and his brother, we come to find out, is number one. He's the front man, and they call him. I think his name is Inho. I think it is, and his brother had found him the first time, and his brother, Inho had shot his brother. The front man shot his brother, and he had fallen off a cliff and went into water. He was luckily, a fisherman was able to fish him out the water, and he's been obsessed with trying to find his brother and where they were. So he's been going out on the ship quite a few times, and when he finally hooks up with 456, like Sejun Ji, that's why I'm destroying these names. So I'm just calling 456. When he finds out about what he's been doing and what he's using his money, and that he's working with the loan shark or the money lender, um, they come up with a plan. One of the plans was to find the island, and then they'll go back to the ship, and they got these special forces guy. But what you find out is that the guy who's been helping him for at least a year or two look for this island, the captain of the ship, was working with the Squid Game people. And you're like, wow, how deep is that?
Yep.
He's a cop. Nobody believes that the game really exists because he has no proof. Nobody believes that, his brother's involved. No, I don't think he ever said his brother was involved, but they don't believe him. And that's why he transferred from major crimes to traffic, because he says the evidence there is clear and crystal. You run a red light, you run a red light. But sorry, what were you going to say, Cal?
You can only imagine how much the money the captain probably is owed
Yeah.
or owes at the end of the day.
Oh, good point. How much he owes? Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, they really do their research, don't they?
Well, I mean, there's a guy educated me to this when I was younger, and it's just there's just a time in your life where it's just your time to owe. Okay, the bills, the mortgage, the car note. There's just you just owe. You feel like you're never gonna get from under it. But the conventional way is you got to pretty much get up every day, go to the job, work, pay this, pay that, do this, and then slowly but surely these expenses start to go down. They start to go down. You have paid off certain things. You don't have this. You don't have the same activities or expenses because your life is different, or it slows down a bit more, or the things that you're doing. Your children have grown up, so it's not as heavy as it might have been before.
Mhm.
But you put people in that particular situation where they're like in the right in the middle of it, right in the middle of it. Like I got the mortgage payment, I got the private school payment, I got these, I got that. And you're like, oh man, it's a lot of money. How am I going to put all this together? And you get somebody in, they're like, hey, you can make a whole bunch of money this way. And I'm not talking about the Squid Game. Okay, this is just somebody who wants to approach you to do some other stuff. Like, hey, would you be willing to do this? Hey, swallow these drugs. Drive these cars across the state line for me. And there's all this money waiting for you at the end of the day. So it really touches on that. I think probably something else we would want to look at is like, the same way we have like a debt ceiling. I don't know if we should do that with people. It's like, no, after a certain amount, like, look, that's it. You got to cap somebody's debt. like, like this guy cannot be, regardless of what the situation is, this guy cannot be in debt for more than this, because after a while it just becomes insurmountable. Like, how are you going to pay all this? How are you going to pay all this back unless you get like a windfall of cash, or you're able to turn it around? But they'll just let you fall. They'll let you fall into debt. That includes the government, where they're like, oh, you owe X amount of back taxes and so on and so forth. Okay, but can the person pay it? Can you pay it with the life that you're living and necessities and such? Oh, you owe us like 60 grand in back taxes, and the person is 75. Are they going to live long enough to pay this off?
No, they're not. Yeah, but I mean, one thing too about this whole series is that and I don't know if it's legit or it's real, but is money lending, is loan sharks such a big thing in Korea? People will.
Yes, and you can tell that by looking at the debt that people are in. Okay, I don't know how big loan sharking is in the states now, but if you're going back like the 70s, 80s, yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, but I mean, all you have to do is just look at how there's no way you get into those type of situations and get out. because no bank is going to give you the money. The bank is going to be like, you're a high risk. Loan shark will be like, yeah, you're a high risk, and you're also a dead man if I don't get my money back.
You're right. You're right. You're a dead man, but man, I just if that's the, it's kind of sad, man. I mean, I know people get into debt, but to have the compound thing of loan sharks coming after you, that's no joke, bro.
Well, because it's one bad. I mean, and I'm not judging anyone, but I think usually it's one bad mistake, and then you try to fix it with another bad mistake. So it's like, okay, I should have paid this. Instead, I decided I would risk the money on that. That didn't work out. All right, let me go hit a loan shark. Do I take that to pay off this money? No, I'm going to take that to Vegas and hope that I can, bet on black and get everything. Oh, well, of course that didn't work. So what am I going to do now? So now, I still need the money. I got people after me, and it's just one thing leads to another. And that's more of an imaginary scenario. With a regular person, a lot of times it's just, hey, I made, you could have just made a mistake that month where I paid the same bill twice. Somehow I paid my phone bill twice, and like, oh, and people are like, oh, well, that's good for next month, so you don't have to worry about next month. But I needed that money now. I needed that money now.
I know.
Okay, and and it can get out of hand that way. But those are smaller numbers. You look at the stuff here. I think it's a very good. I don't think it. I'm not certain if it means to be, but it's a very good commentary on where people are in terms of capitalism. And I'm a capitalist. I believe that of the systems that we've come up with, that one allows for the most freedom of mobility, uh, the most prosperity overall in terms of the other economic systems that we've come up with. But it's far from perfect, and this really shows one of the biggest flaws that you can have, because it's one thing for somebody. I mean, it's one thing for somebody to amass billions of dollars of wealth.
Right.
That's one thing. But to amass billions of dollars of debt, if you can't, I mean, come on. If we know that if I had $1 billion, I'd probably never spend all that money in my lifetime. If I owe $1 billion, I'm never going to be able to pay that money off. It's just not going to happen. So if
Never say
if
never. You know,
I,
elections are very expensive, but taking over countries is very expensive. So,
not all of us are megalomaniacal, so we're not looking to take over countries. But for a regular person, I mean, that would be, you had $1 billion. What, you could spend like what, $100,000, 10,000? No, let me not go that high. But you could spend $10,000 a day and never go broke. For the rest of your life, you wouldn't live long enough to be able to spend all of the money. And then you would have to go and say, look, do you really have $10,000 worth of expenses every day? Every day.
I know. You're 100%.
Yeah, so when you look at it that way, where okay, you can make astronomical amounts of money, but that's going to be for a few people. But getting into debt, that's everybody. That's everybody. And we already had a taste of that with with the credit card debt. I mean, that was one of the things I thought they did that was good. With like, no, whatever you have on your credit card, you've got to. That's whatever the bill is, whatever the payments are. It's got to be able to be paid off in 5 years. But then, the credit card companies decided they were going to come. Well, you know what? Because everybody else's credit is back. What were they doing? Like 2008, people had good credit lines, and they were still like cutting their credit lines in half because they were trying to get back. They were trying to get back the money. So you could have had great credit. You could have been like 850 and had $100,000 line of credit, and they were like, "Yeah, we're going to cut that to 20." They're like, "What?" But my credit is good. Yeah, yeah. But we're just I don't understand. I didn't do anything wrong. Yeah, yeah. That's so good. But you still got 20 to play with. Thank you.
All right, then let's close it out. If you like what you hear, give us a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. Spin rack.
Hey, we're out.
We are out.